Hi, this is Josh Marshall from TPM Media. It's Thursday, January 31st, 2008, and this is episode 11 of our weekly Campaign 2008 Roundup. In the second half of today's show, we're going to show you highlights of last night's GOP debate out in California. But before that, we're going to give you a rundown of how things look going into Super Tuesday next week. Now, obviously, on both sides of the aisle, we have two-person races. And first, we're going to look at the Democrats. Now, the big picture on the Democratic side is that Hillary Clinton is ahead in most states and ahead nationwide, but Barack Obama is closing the gap quickly, and in a lot of key states, he's only a few points behind. This is the new Gallup tracking poll, and as you can see, about a week ago, Barack Obama was actually 17 points behind Hillary Clinton. And then yesterday, he was only 6 points behind. The trend line definitely shows them converging probably right around Super Tuesday if the trend holds up. Now, the picture looks similar in some key states around the country. A Rasmussen poll was out just yesterday that has Barack Obama only 3 points behind Hillary Clinton. Again, that poll just yesterday, January 30th. Another Rasmussen poll was out just yesterday of Massachusetts, and that one has Barack Obama 6 points back. Now, that's a big leap forward for Obama from just a couple weeks ago. It may well have something to do with Senator Teddy Kennedy's recent endorsement. Now, the thing is with the Rasmussen polls, these are robocall polls, and what that means is there's no person asking questions. There's a computer, and you type in a number depending on which candidate you want. So these are often seen as a little less reliable than traditional person calling polls, but they're the most recent ones we have, and they seem to show pretty clearly that Barack Obama is moving ahead fairly rapidly in some of these key states. Now, there are other polls where Hillary Clinton still seems to have a sizable lead. For instance, the most recent poll of Missouri has her 13 points up. The most recent poll of New Jersey has her 17 points up. But the key difference is those polls are respectively from January 27th and 23rd, so they're a little old. We don't know what the very latest numbers are. Now, 2 points to keep in mind about the Democratic primaries on Tuesday. They're all proportional representation. There are a few little technicalities and details in there, but basically you get the percentage of delegates that you have of votes. So that means that in states that Obama wins, in states that Hillary Clinton wins, winning itself is not that important since you get delegates in proportion, roughly in proportion to your vote percentage. So there's not going to be a knockout blow by either candidate. The other point is we have a Democratic debate tonight, and because Super Tuesday is coming up, because you have so much press now, because a lot of people are voting, this is probably going to be the first time that a lot of Democratic primary voters see these two candidates in action. So it'll be extremely important for that reason. On the Republican side, things look a lot simpler. Mitt-McCain seems finally to have hit the brick wall. The polls show Mitt trailing pretty far back in most of the states coming up Tuesday. Remember, a lot of these are winner-take-all states, so if John McCain wins, he gets all the delegates in those states. We found out just last night that Mitt Romney is not going to be running TV ads in any of the Super Tuesday states. Remember, Mitt Romney has self-financed a lot of his campaign, so what this really means is he's not going to open his wallet to spend a ton of money on Super Tuesday. And that tells me that he's probably seeing the writing on the wall and doesn't want to send any more good money after bad. So that's how the two races look to us. We're going to take a quick break, and when we're back, we'll show you some highlights of last night's Republican debate out in California.
At the tone, leave a message. We'll get back.
Hey, Versifier. I think our government's biggest failing by far is the lack of honesty. It seems almost reflexive, the dishonesty by all these various press officers and even executive officers of our government. They almost genetically are incapable of telling the truth.
There are a number of pieces of legislation where his views are out of the mainstream. If I'm wrong, correct me, Senator. He voted twice against the Bush tax cuts. McCain-Feingold, McCain-Kennedy, McCain-Kennedy, McCain-Lieberman. I guess I'd also note that if you get endorsed by the New York Times, you're probably not a conservative.
Let me note that I was endorsed by your two hometown newspapers who know you best, including the very conservative Boston Herald. All of the long list of conservatives that support me, both governors, conservative governors, and in fact, your former lieutenant governor who spent a lot of time on the campaign trail with us.
Let me help you with the facts here, Senator. First of all, my lieutenant governor, Kerry Healy, endorsed me and is supporting me and is working all over the state for me. My predecessor in office, Governor Swift, Governor Swift is supporting you.
But I would like to take 1 minute, since I didn't get a chance to answer this discussion on conservative versus liberal.
We're going to have, I promise you, you're going to have another opportunity to do that. I promise you, coming up in like 2 minutes, or 2 questions. I just want to go right now to
I don't have to tell the people of California that their traffic is clogged. The average American is sitting in traffic 38 hours a year, stuck in traffic, just sitting there behind the wheel, pointing fingers, usually one at a time, at other motorists, and very upset with what's going on around them in the traffic. We're wasting time.
I was part of the Reagan Revolution. I was proud to be a foot soldier. I'm proud of my record as a foot soldier in the Reagan Revolution.
I appreciate his response and appreciate the fact he was part of the Reagan Revolution. There's no question in my mind that Ronald Reagan...
Immigration's been a huge issue in this campaign from the beginning.
We have a process where the people who are here would have to go to the back of the line. We owe it not just to the people who have waited in line a long time.
But the key is this. These individuals are free to get in line. You must get in line.
Congressman Paul, was Sandra Day O'Connor the right choice?
I wouldn't have appointed her because I would have looked for somebody that I would have seen as a much stricter constitutionalist.
Senator McCain?
He was hit by something which completely took his agenda off course, and that was the Iraq conflict. He did something for our party that was important to do, which is to show that when someone attacks America, there will be consequences. We're in the house that Reagan built. It's important that we, as Republicans, stay in the house that Reagan built.
Senator McCain has said over and over again that you supported a timetable for phased withdrawal from Iraq. Is that true?
Absolutely, unequivocally, if I can get that word out, unequivocally, absolutely no. I have never, ever supported a specific timetable for exit from Iraq. I do not propose, nor have I ever proposed, a public or secret date for withdrawal. It is simply wrong. And by the way, raising it a few days before the Florida primary sort of falls in the kind of dirty tricks that I think Ronald Reagan would have found to be reprehensible.
Well, of course, he said he wanted a timetable. Now, in December of 2006, after the election, Governor Romney was asked what he thought about the surge. He said at that time, "I won't weigh in, I'm a governor." At the time, he didn't want to weigh in because he was a governor. I was out there on the front lines with my friends saying, we not only can't withdraw, but we got to have an additional troops over there. Governor, the right answer to that question was no. The actual quote is, we don't want them to lay in the weeds until we leave. That is the actual quote, and I'm sure fact checkers. It means a timetable for until we leave.
Senator, is it not fair to have the person who's being accused of having a position he doesn't have be the expert on what his position is? How is it that you're the expert on my position when my position has been very clear? I'll tell you.
I'm the expert.
This is the kind of.
I'm the expert.
It's simply wrong.
I want to give.
And the senator knows it.
What makes you more qualified than Mitt Romney, a successful CEO and businessman, to manage our economy?
Because I know how to lead. I know how to lead. I led the largest squadron in the United States Navy, and I did it out of patriotism, not for profit. And I was proud to be a leader in the Reagan Revolution. I mean, a foot soldier in the Reagan Revolution. The key leadership of my life was 25 years in the private sector. I'm sure that there are those who say, you know, to be the commander-in-chief, you have to serve in the military. And one of the 2 great regrets I have in life is I didn't serve in the military. I'd love to have.
Is Governor Romney ready to be a military commander?
Well, I'm sure that as I say, he's a fine man, and I think he managed companies, and he bought and he sold, and sometimes people lost their jobs. That's the nature of that business. But the fact is, we're at a time in our history. We're in a time in our history where you can't afford any on-the-job training. And that's why I've gotten the support of 4 former secretaries of state, 2 of them in the Reagan administration. Reagan.
Why would Ronald Reagan endorse you? Would Ronald Reagan endorse you, and if so, why?
Absolutely. Ronald Reagan would say, like Ronald Reagan was, Ronald Reagan would say, Ronald Reagan saw, Ronald Reagan would say no to Ronald Reagan. I'd be with Ronald Reagan in the house that Ronald Reagan built.
Your campaigns wanted this tight, so let's keep it tight. Senator McCain, Ronald Reagan serving as a foot soldier in his revolution. Congressman Paul?
Ronald Reagan.
Governor Huckabee?
I think it would be incredibly presumptuous and even arrogant for me to try to suggest Ronald Reagan, a great President Reagan, Ronald Reagan.
Thank you very much for attending this debate tonight. And that concludes this debate. Hey, thanks very much. Thanks. And if you, hey, Senator, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, sir. Governor.
Anderson.
Thank you very much, sir. Good luck to you. I know. Okay. And if you are just joining us, good evening very much from the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library.